my babies. So, our celebration of 100 years of Black history is coming to a close. But I have one more video for you to end out the month. Now, when you hear the name Ruth, you might think a book of the Bible or the fabulous Ruth E. Carter, who is the first African American person to win multiple Academy Awards. Now, I won't be talking about either of those things today, but I will be talking about a woman by the name of Ruth Ellis. She is from my hometown of Detroit, Michigan, and she is also known as our nation's oldest lesbian. Well, her story resonated with me, and so now I'm here to tell you. So, without further ado, let's get into the video. Ruth Ellis was born on July 23rd, 1899. Now, we must give her grace, even though she is a Leo. I am also a fellow July baby. She was born in Springfield, Illinois, and she is no stranger to history making. Her father was the first African American person to become a mail carrier in the state of Illinois. Now, obviously, her life would be full of challenges due to this history making, and she also would lose her mother in 1912, so she was being raised by a single father. She would come out in 1915 at the age of 16, which was almost unheard of, but she did it. And she was never discriminated against by her family. They loved her and welcomed her exactly as she was. She often says in interviews that she thinks her father was relieved because he often said, "Books and boys don't mix." And don't that sound like somebody's daddy? She would go on to graduate from Springfield High School in 1919. In 1936, Ellis would begin working at I.E. Foster and Company. It was a Black-owned print shop. This is where she would learn typesetting and printing. And this was where she would also meet her life partner, Miss Cicelyne Babe Franklin. In 1937, at the advice of her brother, Ruth Ellis would move to Detroit to seek better employment. Now, when she first got to Michigan, she would become a babysitter. She would be making about $7 a week. But equivalent to our time for $7 a week in 1937 was about $160. So she wasn't doing too bad for a Black woman that only had a trade in printing. Now, her printing skills would not go to waste. She would eventually get employment at Waterfield and Heath, and she would work at that printing company until she opened her own in the 1940s on Detroit's west side called Ellis and Franklin Printing Company. It would become Michigan's first woman-owned printing company. Now, due to the success of Ruth Ellis's entrepreneurship, she was able to contribute and give back to her community. Now, regardless of our shared marginalization, white queer spaces during that time were not welcoming of Black people. And so, Ruth and Babe opened their home as an alternative to the club space. They would invite men and women alike to come and have a good time at their home. But they wouldn't just party. They would also provide things like food, housing assistance, and even raising money for college tuition. Their home would become fondly known as the gay spot. Ruth and Babe would go on to do this work for nearly 3 decades until Babe's passing in 1973. But the passing of Ruth's partner would not allow her to stop doing her advocacy and activism work, and she would do it well into her later years. In the year 2000, at Ruth's age of 101, the Ruth Ellis Center would be open, a long-term and short-term residential facility providing numerous services to at-risk, runaway, and houseless Black LGBTQ youth. It would continue Ruth's legacy of humanizing Black folks in a world that was created to do the exact opposite. Sadly, in that same year, Ruth Ellis would pass away on October 5th, 2000. Now, you can still see parts of Ruth Ellis's contribution to the world. If you live in the Metro Detroit area or the neighboring county, you can visit the Bentley Historical Library on the campus of University of Michigan. She donated materials of her life from about 1910 to 2000 because she also taught herself photography during all of her trade expertise in printing. And so she donated pictures of herself and her friends and things of the time, and then correspondence between her and her friends and family. And then I think there's also an interview that she did in that collection as well. I haven't been home in some time, and I think I might make it a point when I go home to visit and see if it's still there, because I think it is still there. So. And they're called the Ruth Ellis Papers. So I think I might really want to go see that. I also was never able to go to the Ruth Ellis Center just because it wasn't something that I needed at the time when I was still living in Michigan. But I was able to go to the website, and I did see some faces that I recognized from years past. And so it's good to know that her legacy lives on, and they are still doing work in her name that she would have done if she was here so many years later. So I thank you guys so much for being here. I hope I was able to teach you something that you did not know today, and I hope I was able to make your Black History Month celebration that much better. I thank you guys so much for tuning in and making me a part of your 100-year of Black History celebration, because you could have been anywhere else on the internet, but you decided to spend it with me. Thank you. Bye!